When one visits Rome, the first thing on their mind is the limitless opportunities to directly see ancient history, culture, and the arts. They're busting at the seams to see sites such as the Vatican, Colosseum, Pantheon, Roman Forum, and much more. However, when one visits the plethora of cultural heritage sites available for visit in Rome, the average visitor does not consider all the thought process that goes into the presentation of each of these sites. Each site has its own unique way, whether that be a good or bad way, of showing the cultural heritage to an audience. Two of the most amazing sites we visited this year, the Museum of the Areopagus and National Etruscan Museum, had very stark differences in subject matter and presentation, and we will take a more in-depth look at these differences. Let's first take a dive into the Museum of the Areopagus, an altar dedicated to the god of peace upon Augustus' return to Rome. The museum was opened in 2006, and it's a very modern building created by the famous architect Richard Meier. This building sticks out like a sore thumb in comparison to every other building surrounding it, and has been the center of plenty of controversy since its inauguration. To me, however, I see the building as brilliant and refreshing, an oasis from all the ancient ruins and Renaissance-esque architecture. The building is also perfectly designed for presentation of the Areopagus, the only artifact per se in the entire museum. Light flows soothingly through the open glass walls, highlighting the majestic focal point that is the Areopagus. You can walk freely around the altar, even up inside it, and explore it on your own. If you want information, the front of the museum has a plethora of English/Italian history surrounding the altar itself, and the preservation and presentation of it as well. Museum attendants are present if needed, but the altar is set up for personal exploration. And an added tidbit regarding the museum itself is that it has played host to fashion shows and some other elaborate parties, an excellent way of combining Roman historical culture with modern Roman cultural heritage. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the Etruscan Museum. It is located in a much less central location than the Areopagus, making it harder to get to and almost impossible to stumble upon. The building itself is a beautiful villa, called Villa Julia. It's originally a Renaissance palace built for Pope Julius III. Inside the villa, there is a magnificent courtyard, which is immediately seen by visitors. The subject matter itself differs drastically from that of the Areopagus, as it focuses on the multitude of artifacts from the Etruscan people, the people who occupied the Lazio region before the Romans. Walking its halls, you see hundreds of pots, coins, weapons, an array of household items from the Etruscan era. The descriptions are bountiful, and for the most part helpful, explaining the significance of each set of items, as well as their history of discovery. The museum's halls leads you to its hallmark feature, the sarcophagus of the spouses. It is in an immaculate condition and an absolute testament to the cultural heritage of the Etruscan peoples. It is presented extremely well, being the obvious focal point of the museum. Museum attendants are sparse, which allows you to move freely about the museum, but is not helpful if you have questions or need directions. The ultimate positive and negative experience with the National Etruscan Museum is this location. It considers itself to be the premier Etruscan museum, yet visitors have to go far out of their way to be able to see it. This results in small visitation numbers, doing justice to its cultural heritage itself, but making it a lovely and freeing experience for those who choose to make the trip.